Salut tout le monde. Hey everybody. Okay, first I'm gonna ask Andrew to make sure that this is working on YouTube because my computer's been classic. I can't even blame the NDG internet this time. It's really I screwed up everything before the season started. So hopefully people can see and hear me. What's the early verdict there, Andrew?
It appears to be working.
Oh, it only took help. Audie helped me, and then Andrew helped me, and then I invited my grandson to help me because I was having a hard time. I am Marc Dumont. He is Andrew Berkshire, and we are here after. Hey, listen, it wasn't the best game by the Montreal Canadiens. They lost 5-2, but there is a lot to talk about. We can talk about Caden Primo, which was to me the big story. I have mixed feelings about him, and I'm sure so do you, Andrew. Also, Tyler Toffoli, kind of that was the end, the breakup, right? I think with the Habs, it's like we're no longer best friends with Tyler Toffoli, are we, Andrew?
I think I still am. I kind of love the guy.
I do too.
He just does this to his former teams. It's how he rolls. I love it.
Absolutely. And we can also speak about that Mike Matheson goal. Now, Andrew, I don't know if I ever told you this story, but at the when Canada was playing in the Olympics, Sidney Crosby at one point, I just laid into him like this guy's having a terrible Olympics. Why is he on in the lineup if he's not going to try? About 6 seconds later, he scored the golden goal to clinch the gold medal by the Canadians. That kind of happened with Mike Matheson tonight. With I was really ragging on him and Kovacevic, and Matheson might have scored the nicest goal we've seen in a long time. But there was a reason he scored that goal, and I'm not too fond of it. So we'll talk about that later. And of course, we're going to wrap up in the third segment by getting all the questions from our amazing community. Hi, Claire. How's it going, Claire? And everyone else will get your input during the show as well. Andrew will be monitoring it. So, before we talk about Habs players, Andrew, I'd like to discuss Jack Hughes because I don't know if it's a sin to say this on a Habs podcast. He might be the most enjoyable guy to watch in the NHL right now.
He's up there. He's absolutely up there. He's one of the most dynamic players in this league. He kind of has a little bit of the Crosby like back and forth ability with the agility along the boards. Hey, like I was surprised how physical he was and his ability to roll off of guys. Like I feel like even from last year where he was absolutely astonishingly good, he's
Because
better again this
I don't know.
year. That's kind of scary if you don't like the New Jersey Devils.
Right now, apparently you were lagging, so I'm actually going to go play. I can actually reduce. Can I reduce the FPS here, Andrew, while we're live? No,
No,
right?
you can't. But if you can close anything else in your computer that's using internet, that might help.
Yes, you know what? I like a big idiot. I have like 50 things open. So again, I got to get my grandkids to come and show me how's it going. Right now, it's showing red in my corner, big ugly red. So hopefully the audio is going. I think we should just give up on the idea of me hosting from NDG. Is probably the best bet.
What's funny is like it looks good on Zoom. We had a good long chat last night trying to fix your OBS before or after the show when I was
Yeah,
done last night with Nick, and everything was fine. But
I'm seeing
OBS
it
doesn't
here.
want to work.
The worst part, Andrew, is I got a direct feed to my router. I'm not even working on the actual Wi-Fi right now, so I do not have any Wi-Fi. Now, you sent me a message in the middle of the game. My apologies for not replying. Jack Eye is so fun to watch. What were you talking about there? Was that the Holtz hit?
Yeah, where he stepped up on the blue line.
Fun to see, right? And I also thought
Yeah.
Uri Slavkovsky a little more engaged tonight. I think we're at the point, Andrew, where people are ready to criticize him again after, he had a good preseason, but he's kind of faded away a little bit. I liked what I saw from him tonight. He was engaged. He had that nice controlled entry where he essentially deked the whole team. He kind of did like a slow version of Jack Hughes. And I thought he was a lot more engaged. And I think Alex Newhook's doing a good job as a center on the second line. What's your opinion on that?
Uh, I'm I'm not fully there with Newhook at sea. I think he's working really hard. He's doing his best, but it's been a struggle.
Yeah.
I do have to say, I think I like maybe I have to go on a rant or something, but following along Habs Twitter right now, I don't get where a lot of people are coming from, Mark. There's a lot of people who are watching this game and who are like really upset. And I look at this game, we have to remember, manage expectations a little. No Kirby Doc, no Caden Gooley. I'm not going to mention David Savard because he was a Warrior last game, but like I don't think most teams missing a guy like David Savard are gonna be like, oh my God, how are we going to win without David Savard? No disrespect to him, but that's the way it is. And this is a New Jersey team that is legitimately excellent,
Yeah. Oh,
excellent
God. Yeah.
at things that are struggles for the Canadiens, especially, right? That ability to cycle in the zone. They do struggle at breakouts. The Canadiens struggle at breakouts entirely. And the Devils were so aggressive at the offensive blue line tonight, created so many turnovers on their bad breakouts. And yet, for most of that game, the Canadiens stuck around. And the
Yeah.
difference in the game ended up being two power play goals on things that were, in my opinion, not penalties.
It's
Not penalties at
we talked
all.
about this last night. That I feel like the Habs keep getting caught on these ticky tacky calls, and it's consistent for the Habs, but not for the rest of the NHL. Like I would say they're bad penalties. Yeah, they're calls. Those are actually penalties, but it's not really. And you know me, I hate blaming the refs, and it's always going to even out. But the Habs are kind of getting the short end of the stick in the early part of the season for the calls. Let's be honest.
They are. They're being dumb and getting the short end of the stick, right? Like the Jake Evans punch in the face. Why are you doing that in the neutral zone? Arbor Xhekaj late in the game in the third period, basically the goal that kind of put it away.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you grabbing a guy and throwing them to the ice when you're trailing behind? Like it's not a dangerous situation. Just go and battle him in the corner. Like it doesn't make any sense. But like the Kovacevic trip that they called,
Oh yeah.
not a trip. What was the other one that they
It was like
called?
was it a slash when it was
No, the Justin Barron, the push.
Oh
And it's
yeah.
like, since when are we calling a push battling for position in front of the net a cross check? I understand that technically, like if your stick is horizontal, they can call it a cross check. But cross checking my whole entire life watching this game and playing this game has been a hit, a check,
Yeah.
not a push. So if you get caught off balance, that's kind of your own fault. Like battles in front of the net are allowed to happen. But then again, the Canadiens weren't without their own beneficial calls, right? Just like against the Sabres,
Mm-hmm.
there's that ridiculous icing call they didn't make a take advantage of. And tonight, Josh Anderson just kind of fell while he was chasing down an
That,
icing,
you
and
know
they
what?
called
I
that.
love
So
that. That's
it
the
goes
best
both
way to
ways.
draw calls now is holding
It
a guy
is.
and falling.
It is.
It happened against the Leafs a couple nights ago, and I was just saying like it's really a tough one for the referees to get. But because when you looked, he was behind both of them, and it really looked like Anderson got held. But the referees do not like that. Like that's the type of penalty that they'll circle, and they're like, next time, you fucker, I'm
Yep.
not giving you the call. So you have to be careful with that. Now, how's the chat? Will tell us how bad is the lag right now? Because I'm seeing green in my
The
corner.
the video is a little bit choppy,
Terrible.
but but the audio is good. So you know what?
Oh,
It's all right. We'll figure it out.
they still
As
have our
long as people
beautiful
can listen
voices.
well, that's all right. So we'll figure it out
Well,
next time there.
they know my setup is very prehistoric in its execution. So speaking of actually, it's a terrible transition because I can't even think of something because he's young. But Caden Primo, let's talk about this, Andrew. You know me. I've been one of the guys kind of being like, hey, we can't write him off yet. But slowly yet surely, I'm moving more towards the okay, it's done. You know, I thought tonight he kept the Canadians in the game early with fantastic saves, and it wasn't necessarily that 2-on-1, which was a Carey Price save. It was right before that the Canadians gave up a prime high danger scoring chance right down the middle. Primo stopped it, kept it. You know, he was feeling good. I don't know if I can blame him tonight. Some people are really harsh on Twitter about him. I don't think this is a loss that's on Caden Primo's back.
No, I think this is actually the best he's played in the NHL.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've seen him since maybe his like first couple games as a rookie, where he was a little bit stronger,
Mm-hmm.
where he didn't look nervous.
At
Like
all.
the fourth goal went in on him because three goals with the shots that he was facing still looks good. Four goals, people see that as a bad game for a goaltender 99% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was the best player on the Canadiens tonight, honestly. I thought his ability to stop shots through traffic was more impressive than I've seen from him in his career. He was battling really hard on rebounds. Like there was a lot of plays, especially in the first two periods, where the Canadians were pretty successfully at even strength, at least, keeping the Devils to the outside.
Yeah.
They were getting high danger scoring chances, but a lot of them were like they're technically high danger scoring chances, but it's just they're throwing the puck horizontally through the crease, hoping for a tip, and sometimes it goes into the goalie, and sometimes it goes up above the net, and all this. But it was like very, very scrambly play, and with a goalie like Primo, who kind of gets a little bit deer in headlights, usually those games he's letting in like 5, 6,
Yeah.
7. So tonight, holding them to 4 with all those power plays, pretty solid night, I think.
I think so too. Now, also OBS, by the way, while you were speaking, that was great. It flashed twice that it got disconnected and reconnected. Can you? I feel like such an old man, but can you check to make sure our Twitter machine or our YouTube is still working there, Sonny?
It appears to be.
Wow. Okay. Because it disconnected,
So
and to me that's it. But okay, here's what I did not like is that the first Toffoli goal. Let's be honest, that was weak. That was a banana. But if we go back to every goaltender so far this year, every game there's been a banana. Even Jake Allen's great game. There was that short side goal which should never go in. Samuel Montembeault, he struggled a lot in the preseason. First 2 games weren't great. So I would say, in terms of keeping him in the mix, that Caden Primo did himself some favors, but it wasn't good enough to convince another team to trade for him. And it's not good enough to convince the Habs to give him, more starts while you still have Jake Allen and Samuel Montembeault in the mix. So, I feel like the Canadiens are kind of stuck in this weird nebulous state with Primo where they're afraid to waive him, but they can't trade him. And he's just sitting there, not really developing. All 3 goalies want starts. It's not a healthy situation for the goalies, is it?
no, I don't think there's ever a healthy situation with 3 goalies
Never.
in a
Yeah.
roster. It just doesn't work. It's too tough on the guy who's third string. I think it's emotionally very taxing as well.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of disagree about that not being enough for other teams to like look at him a little bit more closely with trade, because he had a really strong performance, and I think teams realize how strong New Jersey is offensively,
Yeah.
and how well he handled that pressure despite not playing for 2 weeks. Like, that was really impressive from
his
Caden
last
Primo.
pro start was last year, right? Yeah, so he did play in some preseason and whatnot, but yeah, no, playing in behind like a full roster, it's been a long time. And this is, even though Gouli's injured, even though Saval's injured, and even though Doc's injured, this is the best lineup Caden Primo has ever played behind, ever.
Yeah, you're probably right. It is a bit sad, but I mean, that's just a natural sign of the team slightly improving, right? It's those little bits every year where they're trying to add on and get a little bit better. But yeah, I really thought Primo was a difference maker tonight. Obviously, he wasn't given the chance to make a difference because the Canadiens couldn't produce much offensively. But again, even in this game where the Devils absolutely controlled the puck for most of the game, just came in waves and waves at even strength, there was only a 11-7 advantage in high danger scoring chances, which is not like, it's not good, but they kept the volume down.
Yeah.
Right?
That's good. That is good versus the Devils. That's actually pretty damn
100%. Like we keep on saying, I know we're repeating ourselves, but Kirby Dach and Caden Gouli out, those 2 guys are monumentally important to this team. Now, so we do have to manage expectations. I saw a bunch of people dragging Nick Suzuki. Suzuki was like the second best player on the team in expected goals tonight.
I started the game by saying, I think it's it's cool that the revival line, or whatever you want to call them, the resurrection line, the old man line, which is funny because they're 29, 31, and 31. Like, it's not like
they're not that old.
I know, right? And be like, the oldest line in NHL history. Like, Sean Monahan just turned 29. Literally, like 10 days ago, he turned 29. They've looked good. Again, I think Slavkovsky and Newhook are kind of treading water, which is still encouraging, right? Because you lost Doc. I said I want to see more offense from that top line, but from what I saw tonight, they were the only line that Jack Hughes wasn't torching, wasn't absolutely ripping apart. Jack Hughes got all his high danger chances against the Newhook and Monahan line, whereas I believe, I'd have to check, but I believe the Suzuki line actually held an advantage in high danger scoring chances. So like 54-46 or something. So yeah, you have to dig a little bit here, but in terms of facing the other superstar, which is what Nick Suzuki does, he definitely played well tonight. I know there's no goals or whatnot, but I think this is probably one of Nick Suzuki's better games.
Yeah, I think he's started to trend in the right direction, right? I think that was hidden against Buffalo because, frankly, Cole Caulfield kind of had a struggling game. Like, he was really fighting the puck against Buffalo, especially when it comes to shooting, and it kind of erased that Suzuki has stepped it up a little bit. But I'm just not worried about those two. We know what they can do. There are stretches like this where guys fight the puck a little bit, or one guy looks a little off, and this team, I just don't understand why people are so angry, because they're playing so much better than we possibly could have expected.
Oh, it's a good start.
Yeah, like even if Doc and Gouli were in the lineup right now, the share that they have of high danger chances after 6 games, the share that they have of expected goals after six
Mind
games,
blowing.
it is mind-blowingly good from where they were last year. It'll be different now because they got kind of dummied in this one.
Yeah.
Also, second half of a back-to-back, we should mention.
And New
But
Jersey hadn't played since Friday. Like, it was the polar
yeah, they're nice
opposite.
and rested. But like, even with those guys, if they were in the lineup, it would be impressive. Last year, they were 30th in the NHL in high danger chance differential.
What was
Coming
it?
into this
30
game, they were second.
Yeah. Okay. And I
Like,
mean,
that's a crazy
it's
improvement.
something that I've mentioned under Martin St. Louis. Like, we're giving him a pass because it's early, but I've been saying, hey man, like the high danger chances are getting worse. Like they got so much worse under St. Louis than Duchamp. Now, obviously, there's been an exodus of talent. It's really encouraging to see them kind of climb up right now. Obviously, the special teams are a mess, and as much as I complained about the special teams yesterday in the chat when you had Nicolas Cloutier. By the way, great show by Nicolas, one of my favorite analysts.
Agreed.
Um, I still am more encouraged by the fact that the 5-on-5 is working right now, and the special
Agreed.
teams. Yeah, you want them to work, but you build your foundation on that solid 5-on-5 play, which is why I'm not that worried about Nick Suzuki. But there is a guy that I am worried about, and I'm gonna flip it on you because you always go after Savard. I let you take the lead on that. I would too. But tonight, David Savard wasn't there to blame, and Mike Matheson looked pas bon. Il était pas bon. Like, and I know he scored probably the highlight goal of the year for the Habs, but it was bad because no one gave him an outlet option. Like, that was the Habs failing to give him an option, and he just said, fuck it, I'm going to go myself. Other than that, I think Mike Matheson has been struggling, and he's been bad this year. And he was bad
Yeah.
tonight without the David Savard.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think that as a whole, like, you can see what makes him good.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously that highlight reel goal, absolutely incredible. But there's a lack of precision to his game that keeps him from being a true number one defenseman. This is what we said with Nick last night, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
essentially he's one of the guys who's playing a spot or two above his talent level. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the situation the Canadians are in. And I have a hard time criticizing him because he bears so much pressure on his
Right?
shoulders. It's kind of like Suzuki, right? Except for he's playing 26, 27 minutes a night,
Mm-hmm.
which frankly is not sustainable. And as soon as Gooley's healthy, they should start to cut that down to like at least 24, 23.
Yeah.
That's just, you can't do that to a guy and expect him to play all 82 games.
No, and I noticed that he's falling just like a weird amount too. Even today, he fell 4 or 5 times, and there's something about a player who can't, we kind of saw it with Slavkovsky last year. It's almost a confidence thing. I know, obviously, it has to do with the ice, and Matheson tends to cut hard on his edges, and he tends to cut back, and he's really good at lateral transitions. But once you start falling, going a little Bambi, it tends to kind of snowball on it. And we've been seeing Mike Matheson just fall all over the place. So, but I'm with you. Given what he's done, especially last year, surviving all that and still having good numbers, I think we'd give him a little bit of pass. But him and Jonathan Kovacevic, ironically, the guy that I hype all the time, they need to be a little bit better. I feel like they're just the start of the season has been pretty poor from both those
Yeah. I
defensemen.
mean, Kovacevic, I'm sure part of it is just the minutes that he's having to play, right? Because he's gone from third pair to second pair to first pair in a
Yeah.
like 2 week span.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tough adjustment for poor Jonathan Kovacevic. But I think, like all the players on the team right now, you can at least see that the effort is there. And this is a reminder game, right? I think the Canadians had a game like this against the Devils last year, I
Yeah.
believe,
It's
and
the barometer.
it was
Yeah.
a wake up call game, right? It was absolute dominance from the Devils. And you're like, okay, this is what you want to be.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is the future that you want to build. And I think that's how they have to take it here. If I was Marty St. Louis right now, I don't think this is a game where you go in there and you rip your guys in the
No.
room. You're going in there and you're patting guys in the back and you're saying, like, listen, I understand things didn't go our way tonight. We got to clean up the penalties, but you guys worked your asses off on the second half of a back-to-back, but
Mm-hmm.
against a damn good team. And frankly, we walked out of there with our heads held high.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But and I'm with you. And also, can you do me a favor? Just check in on I had to close everything, so Andrew's gonna check in on the chat, see how everyone's doing. I haven't traded a goalie yet, so the chat might be happy with me. Beyond beyond the players we've mentioned, I want to give a lot of credit, and I know I do this all the time to the fourth liners, but Michael Pizzetta is legitimately playing well now. Now going into the game, I think he had his Corsi was like 65. He was 55% expected goals. I don't know what happened after that, and he didn't play a lot, but there is value to a guy on the fourth line that will be creating chances and working like a, just like a son of a bitch every single shift. And he's not an anchor right now. He alleviates some of the physical load from Arbor Jacki. He plays 6-7 minutes a game, so we're not gonna throw too many flowers his way. But Michael Pizzetta is quickly becoming a very efficient fourth liner. Like, and I won't. That's not up for debate. Michael Pizzetta is a good fourth liner, and I'm Andrew. You know this. I'm just happy to see him succeed because again, he got a really rough ride in the AHL. Joël Bouchard kind of fucked with him, but I'm just so happy to see Michael Pizzetta play well, and he knows he has to do this. He did a ton of interviews recently. He's like, hey man, I have to be like a dog going after his bone every single shift. And I think he's one of those fourth liners that I don't know about make a difference, Andrew, but he's a positive value player right now for the Canadiens.
Yeah, I would say this about Michael Pizzetta. This is the third straight year where at the beginning of the season, I thought, I don't know if this guy's long for this team. And then he just forces his way in, gives you every reason to keep him in the lineup,
Yeah.
whether it's giving energy, chipping in the odd goal, or like hitting a guy and fighting to like change the course of a game, sticking up for his teammates. Just he does everything that you could possibly ask of a player of his talent level. And I feel like we're gonna be here 4 years from now being like, I don't know if Michael Pizzetta is going to stay with the team this year, and he'll just find a friggin' way. He reminds me a little bit of Ryan White, but less unhinged and a little bit more talent.
Yeah, less well, I don't know. Did you see him the other night after the fight? He looked so much like Ryan White when he was in the box. His eyes were just like bulging out.
But Ryan White was a special guy when it comes to unhinged, man. I was looking for that GIF the other day of him against the Senators.
Yeah, the brawl against the Senators.
I love it.
And every Habs player got their ass kicked. And then it set off a chain of motion where Michael McCarron was getting drafted because the Habs needed size, right? So, all right, so we will get to, and we're going to keep it short for my standards tonight, not just the internet. I know everybody's got a lot to do. If you could do us a favor and like it, I know my video is not great right now, but if you could like the stream and subscribe, I would genuinely appreciate it. If you can tell your friends about the podcast too, that is great. The more people, the merrier. Usually I'm chatting with our fine people in our community. And I'm sure Kay has mentioned Goulet Nation now, even though he's injured. I'm sure everyone's doing their part. So thank you to everyone that's in the chat. We genuinely appreciate you. Andrew.
Agreed.
Moving on here. Do we start talking about the Habs as a team that still is a good story? Or are you already ready to see them kind of pack it in and get some losses on their record? Because I'm thinking right now, I know New Jersey beat them, but they're such a good team that there's something here that it's not quite ready. You're not quite ready to be like, okay, they're definitely getting a top 10 pick,
I mean, with the injuries that they have and how well they're competing right now, I'd like to see how long they can keep this up. Yeah. I don't know if they can be this competitive for the entire season. I think there's a lot of things working against them. I think because of their level of talent, they have to work harder to get these results than a lot of other teams do. And that can be exhausting, especially guys like Suzuki and Caulfield, who are always out there against top matchups, especially with Doc not in the lineup. Like, there's improvement throughout the roster, but not enough that other teams are like, well, we really got a game plan for Monahan, Pearson, and Gallagher. Like, sure, a little, but nobody's throwing out their top checking line against those guys, right?
And Nick they're playing 9 minutes a night. Like, that's the other thing. I will give credit to St. Louis for this. He toned down their minutes, man. Like, they're playing the least minutes, all three of them, of their career. And I think it was a really smart move by St. Louis to be like, okay, like, I know you're going to go all out, but you can't go all out for 15 minutes. So he's given the retirement line, which again, the average age is slightly above 30, but he's given them about 8-9 minutes a game. I don't know how much they played tonight, but it feels like St. Louis has found the sweet spot with that third line. At least, he's getting good value out of it. That much we know. Tanner Pearson's I think he's been one of the better Montreal Canadiens so far through this season. Like, if I had to rank them, I'm going Sean Monahan right up there. And then Tanner Pearson right behind him. And Gallagher maybe a little further behind. But Is it a terrible thing that the third line's been the Canadiens' best line?
No, I mean it's just 2 games. I actually have Gallagher ahead of Pearson. Pearson's had like his shot is working really well,
He's not
but I
going to
think
shoot 100.
Gallagher.
Percent Yeah.
No, no. I mean, it seems like Pearson either wires it over the net or straight through the goalie,
Yeah.
right? So that probably won't last forever. I think Gallagher's actually driving more play than Pearson, but Pierce, all three of them are KG vets, right?
Yeah.
So that it's a very smart line, as long as Gallagher's not incensed and taking dumb penalties. But overall, I'm enjoying watching this team, and I think that's
Excellent
something
talk. Yeah.
in the latter half of last year I couldn't really say because there was so many injuries. It was just kind of a slog. So I'd like to see them keep on pushing. I don't think that they're gonna finish like bottom two this year. I don't think that's really in the cards. So either they get some draft lottery luck or they have to find another route to get a superstar forward on this team because they still do need it. But overall, I think there's positives long term to them taking a step this year, even if people are obsessed with the draft. And I understand that, but you got to actually enjoy the entertainment that you're taking part in.
Right, or else why do you have a guy like Arbor Jacki, who's one of the most entertaining guys in the NHL? And actually that's a little diminutive of what he brings to the game, but still, that's the value of having entertainment on the ice. I know a lot of people want to full PlayStation it and get like 3 first overall picks 3 years in a row, but like that just doesn't happen. And we have to remind ourselves too, with the amount of injuries last year, the Habs weren't really that as bad as maybe the bottom two teams, even with all those injuries. So there's still a discrepancy in talent there. So as Andrew's gonna check out the chat and see what all of your I'm gonna start going full
Well,
pirate. All of yar. But one thing I do want
as
to
per usual, it's a Doc versus Suzuki comparison in the chat right now.
well, you know what? And I don't want to be mean, but like right now doesn't really matter what
No,
Doc's doing, right? Like there's only one guy in the lineup, so that's where the focus will be. But I wanted to get back real quick to when you talked about Gallagher doing great things. One of the plays that really stood out to me last night, yeah, he crashed the net and everyone was like, oh, classic Gallagher goal. And it really was because, 3 dudes on top of him, the goalie lost. But if you if you rewind it a little bit, you go back, Gallagher. Jeez, I'm doing really good with my enunciation. Gallagher drops all the way back because Matheson's under pressure from both sides. Both his outlet options are covered. Gallagher drops back and he gives him a 3-foot pass, starts the rush. That's the type of, and then he ends up so he started the rush and he finished it. I saw a lot of criticism. Even today, people are like, why are you praising Gallagher? It's not just because he scored those dangerous goals. He's playing legitimately well, and he played well at the end of last season, too. Now, I write the same article every year, like, oh, Gallagher is looking good, but so far through the first 5 games of the season, I'd say that this is as close as Gallagher of old as we've seen in the last couple years.
yeah, I agree. I think it's the combination of him actually producing and doing the little things, right? And getting the results and driving play. Because even in the last couple of years where he's had those fits and spurts where he looked like old Gallagher,
Mm-hmm.
the goals weren't happening.
No.
Now he's actually popping a couple in and at the same time looking pretty decent. And obviously he's not going to score 30 this year. I think that's just crazy to even think that anybody's trying to say that. But 15 is not out of the realm of possibility. I think that he's earning his ice time. I think he's earned his praise over the last couple of games here.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since game 3, I think he's been really, really solid.
Yeah.
And I think that's only encouraging. I don't understand why people are so mad about it. Like, don't
There's
you love your team? Like, it's
Well, and I
weird.
think there's two things that can be true at the same time. Is that Brendan Gallagher, yes, he will be overpaid, but right now he's playing the type of hockey that you're not actually that much worried about his salary, right? So it's just, I'll also say
100%.
this on Twitter, there seems to be this weird obsession with always wanting to be right no matter what. Like you'll get guys that at one point yesterday I'm like, hey man, Gallagher's playing well, and someone just lost it on me, and they're like, how dare you say he's playing well? Like you should be complimenting Pearson and Monahan. It's like, first of all, chill, just chill, dude. But second
Like
of all,
you can compliment all three. Like it's okay. It's the same thing with Suzuki and Doc.
Mhm.
Like guess what? They're both on the team.
Yeah,
It,
and
it doesn't matter
yeah.
who you think is better.
And no NHL team has ever succeeded with just one good center. Let's put it that
No.
way. But I think it's just because they play such a different game. And Doc's in transition. That's where his skill is. Whereas Suzuki, he controls the neutral zone mostly defensively, right? That's where he creates his turnovers. So I will say this: I don't think Suzuki has had his timing right so far this season. And I thought at first in preseason he was just kind of taking her easy, but I don't think he's found his rhythm yet. That's not the end of the world, but and what, he's got 3 points in 5 games, so we still have to relax. But I think it's also fair to say, Andrew, you want to see a little bit more from Suzuki offensively speaking. His shot attempts haven't been great. Like yesterday, he had a perfect shot right off the hash marks, and it was the type of shot that like you or me would take there, like a rec league like flubber there from. And again, he's an elite athlete, but I don't think Nick Suzuki is proud of how he's playing right now.
No, I think that's clear, and I think Marty St. Louis talked about that a couple of games ago, right? That he talked to Nick and said like, "Hey, we gotta figure out a way to step it up a little bit, especially with Doc out." And it's once again all up to Suzuki, right? It seems like every year it comes down to it. He's the last guy left, and right now it's not that at that desperate point yet. But I think everyone is looking at the start from last year, which was never sustainable in the first place. I think he was shooting like 30% for the first month of the season.
More. It was like 50 or even 20 games. It was crazy. It was close to like 28%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so Dom took a lot of crap there, but he was right about that was going to drop. You know what? It still stayed at like 19-20% though. It was like
it did.
He was picking his shots.
He is a high percentage shooter. Like he has a ridiculous shot and he doesn't shoot that often. Yeah. But also Dom's a lot like me, right? He enjoys rustling feathers. So whenever people are like, "Oh, why are people all on Dom all the time?" Because Dom trolls all the time. He invites it. So if you're feeling guilty about getting on Dom, don't. Exactly. The Quinn Hughes thing. And I'm sorry, by the way. But Quinn Hughes, I know this is like the discourse in Vancouver.
I haven't actually heard any of it. I just caught the back end of it. So
it's because like multiple beginning of the season rankings came out, right? And Quinn Hughes was ranked below a bunch of different defensemen. Quinn Hughes, in my mind, if he was on a team that had like more than one good defenseman, would be a unanimous top 3 defenseman in the NHL.
Well, yeah, Casey, because I was about to say
absolutely astonishingly good.
I don't know how Dom ranked him. I was about to say top 10, like no matter what there, you know what I mean? That's kind of how I look at Quinn Hughes. But all I hear from the East, people that they're like, "Oh, he's not tough enough." They never actually talk about what he does well. And it's always because like I'll say this with Quinn Hughes. I feel like people really judge him from his appearance, from the way he projects himself. You know what I mean? Like, because he kind of sulks a little bit and people are just like, "Oh, not that good of a player, not that tough." Well, guess what? He's kick ass when the play actually starts. Yes, he looks like he's about to cry. He has
resting sad face.
He always looks like he's about to cry, but then he makes his opponents cry, right? So that's what Quinn Hughes does well. And again, the point wasn't to dunk on Dom, but it is funny to see those, when as you mentioned, those rankings that are widely publicized, and then the little bait that's hanging here and there. Once in a while, when you start holding that chicken over an alligator, it's gonna catch the chicken at one point. You know what I mean? Like you can't keep moving it. So that's the job we're in, right? We're gonna take it on the chin a few times. So unfortunately, that happened to Dom. Now, the next game we're going to Thursday, right? We're moving on to
yep.
Was it? No, it's actually. I don't even know it should be Thursday.
Yeah, it is Thursday.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So, who do you start? It's Montreal time, right?
Yeah, you don't want to sit him for too long. I think that makes sense. I think I'd start Montembeault Thursday. I'd consider going back to Primo on Saturday just to get more looks at him and then go with Allen.
I don't. Yeah. Fuck it.
He's an old. Let him rest, He doesn't need to be in every game. He knows the situation that he's in.
He's 34, so he's he's 36. He's the oldest athlete in the entire world. Yeah.
Seriously.
And again, I do apologize for not being too active with the chat, but we'll get to it now. I did want to hit on one thing, Andrew. And you did too. You brought it up, so that's fantastic. Obviously the NHL's ass backward attempt to ban Pride tape. I'll say this, in all its superfluous and pseudo attempts to seem inclusive, this is probably the most attention and support that the NHL has actually brought to a good cause ever. And it's accidental. It's embarrassing by them, but they brought so much positive positive marketing to Pride Tape. They probably gave him $2 to $3 million worth of marketing over the weekend. So I will congratulate the NHL on being such a failure that they succeeded for once to support community groups that are obviously, that get attacked left and right nonstop, and that they always talk about being inclusive about. For once, the NHL got it right by getting it wrong.
Yeah, I don't want to give them even a shred of credit.
No, no,
I
no,
mean,
no.
their statement was so embarrassing. Like they don't care. All they want to do is quiet down headlines. That's all they give a shit about. I give credit to Travis Dermott for standing
King,
up,
King.
especially as a guy who doesn't have a contract next year. I think people have been talking about him like he's a fringe player. He's not a fringe
No.
player. He's better than that, although NHL coaches seem to think he's a fringe player. His job's not secure. I'll say that.
And
there's a
it'll
lot
probably
of
get
guys
worse, Andrew.
probably.
This doesn't help him at all, and I'm serious.
But you know what? His team stood behind him.
Good.
Right? So that's good. Sorry. Daycare colds. But I give a ton of credit to him, a ton of credit to Brian Burke as well for being
yeah.
loud
What a
and
great
never
ally.
shutting up.
He just comes out and just like no bullshit, just he's got the ears of all the old hockey men too. So it's so important to have a figurehead like that. And obviously he's got like all that experience, and of course with his family. So it's man, it's really positive. And Brian Burke's the kind of guy that you'd maybe assume would be against this kind of stuff. So it's just, I don't know, it's a little heartwarming to see one of the old school guys take the right side on something.
It is. It's nice. And the fact that he's not just saying it and then doing nothing. He's out there active. He's out on Agent Provocateur on STBN talking about it. He's on Twitter constantly talking about it, congratulating Travis Dermott. It is so stupid. This is like colored tape, rainbow colored tape. This is the thing that the NHL is like, oh, it's too political. We don't want to make anybody uncomfortable.
Like I'm laughing,
fucking head a shake.
I don't want to laugh because I feel like it's a serious subject, but the NHL is so goddamn stupid about this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Ian Boulevard in the chat says the NHL's never found a rake it didn't want to step on. Yeah, the NHL is Sideshow Bob.
Yeah.
They are Sideshow Bob. And the fans, or maybe the players in this instance, are Bart Simpson. So good on
Bart die.
Simpson.
No, it's German for the Bart. I will say this, and listen, me and Andrew aren't ideal people to be speaking about this. Neither of us have ever gone through anything like that. We both come from pretty privileged backgrounds. But I will say this: if ever there's an issue with anything going on, you can contact me on Twitter. My DMs are open. No pressure whatsoever, but I did open them recently. So if ever you need to talk about anything, listen, I know I talk a lot, but I can be a really good listener. So if anyone out there needs an ear or is going through a really tough time, don't hesitate. Please don't hesitate, because you have big fans here. You have people that will support you, and you are loved. So I just want to make sure that message goes out there to all the amazing people in our community, because sometimes it's easy for me to take it for granted that everything's fine, but the secret about the camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back is there's a million straws underneath, and a lot of people are carrying a burden that I just don't understand. So if ever you do feel the need, please send me a message on Twitter, and I'd love to have a chat anytime.
Yeah, and last note on Pride Tape, I did laugh that there were a few angry right-wingers talking about like, oh yeah, well, what if an NHL player decides to write scripture on their hockey tape? Like,
cool,
bro, do you know how many players do that
all
already? You know how many, like Travis Dermott has a cross tattoo on his stomach.
Andrew, you want to hear something? I have a Celtic cross branded into my leg, like literally branded. Now, like, it doesn't have to do with religion. It has to do with my grandfather.
All the time.
But yeah, it's
dumb.
It is dumb. Now, I want something that is cool. What are you doing with your arm there? Because right now it looks like a delicious breakfast cereal. But
this,
but
so this was. I'll go into it. So this is an idea for a tattoo that I had. So there's 30 hexagons that go up to my shoulder.
Yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm. And from ages 1 to 4, that's going to be 1. And then 5 through 18, 1 for each year. It's going to be my kids' favorite things, 15 each. So it'll be like a diagram or like a representation of their lives.
It's like a living diary.
Grew up loving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I thought it was a really cool idea. So And
I
no,
really
it,
like
it
that.
is not a tribute to Micah Blake McCurdy, as has been asked like 5 times in the chat. No,
I was
I
gonna say
don't
it kind
love
of looks
Micah that much.
like a molecule a little bit there, like
It does.
hydrogen peroxide. But that is a really cool idea. All right, so again, because I'm blind, how's that? We're gonna wrap it up pretty soon. Thank you everyone for being here. I know it was a rough loss, but it's fun. The Habs, I feel like the vibe in the rebuild is still good. We're still vibing
I
pretty
agree.
well. Yeah,
I
even a
agree.
loss like
Should we
this,
get
nah, no
should we
big.
get to some questions and the
Yes,
little
yes, yes,
presser?
yes. Let's see how the chat's
Okay.
doing there. Yeah.
It's not really a question, but Trinka says, "Imagine being afraid of a rainbow," which is
Triska or
true.
Trizak or
Trinka, Trinka.
No,
So
I
yeah,
know.
get your questions in. I know there was Kay had a good comment earlier that I wanted to highlight but forgot. She was saying that Gallagher just needs to pull a me and just he's
Okay,
got to admit it.
I felt bad because I'm
He's got to admit
the
it,
one
man.
thing I got, like, for example, I need to get my hair done, but I'm going to see my friend. I'm going to go see my godson in a couple of weeks, and she always cuts it for me. But I noticed that too when he had the bucket off. He's losing the he's losing the territory battle. Like once your hair reaches to about here, you gotta shave because once you lose the beachhead, it's game over. But if they infiltrate up here, it's even worse. It's even worse because you don't see it coming. And yeah, he's got a landing pad going on there. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, Gally.
Yeah. Poos on Poos says, "What's Arbor Xhekai's next contract look like?" It's a great
That's a
question.
really
I
good question.
I think the Canadians are doing everything possible to make sure that it's as low as number as they can because they know it's going to be a tough one, because you have to balance the fact that he is essentially a third pair
Yeah.
defenseman with the fact that he's a unicorn in this league and there are very few players like him.
So what was
I
Radko
mean, hey,
Gudas's
Arbor,
contract
we
history?
drafted your brother. We love your family. We're the ones who discovered you. Sign a hometown discount. I would. I feel like he's the kind of guy that will,
Yeah,
but
but if
it's
I'm
not going to
him,
be super cheap.
yes, I believe he is. But if I'm him, absolutely not. Like,
Oh yeah,
you
with the
never
kind of
know.
game that he plays, an injury could happen at any time. If I was him, I'd be like, it's starting at 7 million, like something crazy.
Well,
Force the issue, but
this might be one of the few situations where a bridge kind of makes a lot of sense. You know what I mean? Like maybe
yeah,
I'm looking up. Hey, I actually have internet because I jumped off my router, but my phone's actually getting a connection here. That's cool.
nice.
It's 2023, and I'm impressed by connections. How much did Radko Gudas make out of his ELC? Let's see
Oh, I
here.
mean, I
Oh, he
wonder if
just
it's
got
going to be
another like
something like,
million per. No, that's gonna be too cheap. And then he went to 3.35. So let's say you go. Fuck, is it too much? 3 million a year for 3 years? Three times three? It is,
yeah, I
but
feel like three by 3.5 or 4 by 3.5 would be not surprising.
if you go to 3.5, yeah, four would be a little bit better. But there's also like, this is kind of shitty because I feel like he's the guy that defied all the odds, but I'm still not like sold long term that he could do this year after year. But right now, I'd have to check. I believe statistically speaking, he's been their best defenseman this season.
Yeah, he's been really, really good.
Like
And
he's rocking over a
I'm surprised at
60%
how many
shot
people
share.
haven't picked up on it. Like, I guess a lot of it's fans of opposing teams that still think that he's just a face puncher, but like this guy continues to improve.
Yep.
He's added a lot to his game. His play with the puck is really strong. His play without the puck has gotten a lot stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Like just in the last couple of games, he's had at least five really great defensive plays
Yeah.
that denied a really incredible scoring chance opportunity.
Yeah.
That's a lot for a defenseman who's not playing a ton.
And you mentioned Florian. He's he's been going full. It's like full Jack Eye in the OHL right now, getting into line brawls. But he's like scoring points too. He fought with Eric Bolton's son, and it was one of those. I like Bolton probably won the fight, but it was one of those like, wow, we still allow guys this age to fight. Maybe we shouldn't. They were throwing haymakers, but I'll admit that I raised an eyebrow when they drafted Jack High because he wasn't listed on any draft guide. No one was going to draft him, and they could have gotten him in the 7th round. Let's be perfectly honest about that. That being said, they wanted their guy and they went and they got him. I think I might be wrong again because he's producing. He's producing points in the OHL. I haven't checked up on him in the last 2 games, but man, it would be something if the Bash brothers ended up in the NHL together, eh? Like how
It would.
it would
I mean, I
absolutely make
think
me like I'm still in the opinion that guys that fight and that are really really tall are rarely good in the NHL, but like Jack Eye is absolutely destroying that theory that they're all bad. Like when we say unicorn, this is so darn true in Jack Eye's case.
yeah, and I think there's the NHL like scouts and management types. They really love those NHL bloodlines, right? When it comes to the draft. So a lot of times I think it leads to big mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there is sometimes insights that you get from knowing a player and knowing a player's family
Mm-hmm.
that they might have looked at Florian Jacka and said, like, hey, lots of raw tools, like very, very raw.
Mm-hmm.
But what did Arbor look like at that age? Wasn't drafted for a
No,
reason,
no.
right? So if they see that same workman-like attitude, that like really blue collar,
Mm-hmm.
uh second generation immigrant, like has to work for
No
every
choice, no
single
choice.
thing
Yeah,
that they
yeah,
get,
yeah.
like there's nothing handed to them in Florian, and he has that same uh career arc that Arbor has. He could be a really good player. So I kind of get it.
And they
It's a reach, but it's an understandable
and there's
reach.
something to be said about their strength. Like I know it's really hard to judge hockey players, right? Because they're not mostly cut, but man, I do believe that he's right now Arbor's top three strongest guys in the NHL, and that's saying a lot because there's some really like Ryan Reeves is an oak tree, and I know that Leafs fans were kind of like, "Oh no, that wasn't a win or anything," but like Jack, I was pushing him around with the greatest of ease, and you could see that Reeves was kind of panicking, saying like, "Holy shit." For the first time in my career, I'm not the strongest guy here. So that is obviously quite entertaining. Now,
Did
Andrew,
you see what Jack I said about Reeves's comments? Because
did he
I
act
didn't
like
see
the
it go
adult? Because
around.
Reeves has been a bit of a whiny baby. Like, I like him, but like,
Yes, he's been super whiny, but I was surprised that this didn't make the rounds. I read it earlier today while I was getting the tattoo, and he was asked about Reeves's comments and says, "I don't know. I did drop my one glove first, and then I waited for him to get up.
true.
Then he dropped both his gloves and started swinging. So then I continued. Obviously, I think his game is more of where you get the square up because he's pretty good off the square up. But I'm not doing it for the show. I'm not doing it for myself. I'm sticking up for my teammate.
Oh,
I'm not putting on a show where I'm tapping you and we're going to center ice and we do the whole circle around. If you throw a dirty hit like that I don't like, I'm going to go and grab you right away and we're going to go right away. I'm not going to do the whole show with him. That is lethal.
perfect.
He basically said,
He,
Ryan Reeves, you're not a real hockey
he
player.
eviscerated him. Oh my god.
No, it like fatality. Like they're gonna
Wow.
go again next game. I know it's not until March, but they're gonna go again, and we'll see what
And you know
happens.
what? I actually think it's pretty smart because like, hey, when you go back to I you know I watched a ton of UFC when I was younger. Did a bunch of martial arts. Obviously, I've stopped doing them, and it's all about adapting, right? In terms of style on style. I do believe that Ryan Reeves would probably get the better of him if they squared up. Um,
Yeah,
but why would you, right? Like, why would you play into your opponent's advantage? You know what I mean? Like, if I'm facing a striker, they're not gonna shoot on me because they know I wrestle, right? So, like, I feel like he's being pretty cerebral about these fights, and that's good to see, man. No, I like that. That was one of the like most solid beatdowns that Arbor Jackai ever gave, and he didn't throw one punch. Well,
no, he just well the beatdown, yes, but also like the words.
yeah,
He
that
just
was
said the truth,
that hurts.
unfiltered truth.
Yeah, that absolutely hurts. All right, so I think, and again, thank you to everyone in the chat. But I think we'll probably wrap up here, Andrew. How are you feeling? Is there anything else? Any goodies in the chat?
I'm looking here quickly. There weren't a lot of questions tonight.
Well, maybe, yeah,
Pusambu
maybe
says,
if they.
Is Jack Guy part of the core? I think that's a quick yes or no. I would say he's not quite in the core, but he's such a unique player that I could understand how that could become part of it. You know what I mean? Like,
I still laugh when people are like, no, you don't take a first round pick for Jack High. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Absolutely. But I get why people say no. I understand why people say no because the
yeah,
Montreal Canadiens have a long history of you avoid the pure goon, no offense, but like the Reeves, and you go with a guy that can actually play. We're going back to John Ferguson Sr. Even, again, I'm not saying he's Larry Robinson, but Robinson was a player first, and then he beat the crap out of Dave Schultz and Gary Dornhofer second. So when you brought in guys that could just fight here, they didn't last very long. I mean, the Perros, well, okay, that was different, but the guys that came just to fight Montreal, they went by the wayside. So since
Yeah.
Lyle Odeline, they haven't had a fighter that could actually play. And that's why Arbor Jacki is so good for the Montreal Canadiens. It's not just dealing with all the insecurities of years past, and that is part of it. Let's be perfectly honest. The Habs have gotten pushed around for a long time, but it's the fact that he can play, and that's necessary to be in Montreal. You can't just be a goon here. You have to bring something to the table, and I think he's proven so many people wrong, including me, in saying I'm a hockey player first and a fighter second. I'll be perfectly honest. The first time I said that, I was like, bullshit. And then I think he scored that night, right? So I love how badly he's proven me wrong. Like it's just been a joy to watch Arbor Jack. Like almost, if Jack Hughes is the most entertaining player to watch, Arbor Jacki might be the most entertaining defenseman to watch in the NHL right now.
Yeah, he kind of brings it all, doesn't he? Okay, one last question here because I saw it actually come through a few times. People asking about Anderson on the top line.
Ugh.
How long are they going to stick with this? Should they stick with this? I don't understand it anymore. It doesn't work. It's never worked. I think Anderson has improved his game a lot, but they need to just stop. They need to move away from it. Whether it's Harvey Pinard on the line or they bring Newhook over there once Dvorak's back and probably Sean Monahan moves up to the second line. Like it doesn't work. Every time they do it, it's a disaster at even strength. No production. I just don't understand why they're doing it. Same with the power play. Mm-hmm. And I know he got knocked off for Pearson on PP1 at some point tonight, but he shouldn't be on the power play at all. He doesn't have the brain for it.
Well, the only time I might want to see him is that, okay, first of all, the power play, the zone entries are so gross. Like, they're so bad. The only thing that's working right now is Alex Newhook just taking one of those, like, huge ramp-ups and whipping into the zone. So maybe there you could use Josh Anderson to try to create, like, a 2-on-1 during the power play. But his style does not fit with... He's a north-south guy. It's as simple as that. Power play is an east-to-west procedure. So I feel like we've criticized him probably too much in past years. But this year... it's quite obvious that in my opinion, that he's not part of the long-term plan for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I would be interested to see how Kent Hughes approaches the deadline this year, because last year was essentially, fuck it, I'm not trading him. But we heard that there was like first-round picks and other things added. You can't afford to make that decision anymore, in my opinion. If you have someone dangling a first, and it might be a very interesting deadline, because you're talking about Pearson, you're talking about Monahan, Anderson, Dieu sauve nous qui soit, that they don't get hurt. But I don't think you can be too greedy if you're Kent Hughes this year at the deadline. If you get a good offer for Anderson, you move him.
I'll throw out what I think is going to happen. I think Anderson's going to have a pretty decent season. I know he hasn't scored yet. I think he'll be fine. Mm-hmm. I like some of the things that he's added to his game, but he gets traded at the deadline to the LA Kings. We know Marc Bergevin loves the guy.
Oh, God, yeah.
In a package for Quinton Byfield.
For him for years, yeah.
In a package for Quinton Byfield. I think that's the move.
Well, that would be nice.
A big package with probably a lot of prospects that people don't want to lose, but I think that's what the Canadiens are going to do. That's my guess.
So the Habs would be the ones adding on?
No. It'd be LA for their run.
Yeah.
Add Anderson.
Really, Quinton Byfield? Really?
Byfield's playing on the wing there. What's he? Their development of him has been terrible.
I mean, they do have a lot of talent.
Is he going to play over Kopitar? Is he going to play over Pierre-Luc Dubois? Is he going to play over Deneau? Not right now.
Yeah,
he can't be a fourth liner. So
that would be great.
I think that's what's going to happen.
If you could turn, wow, yeah, hell yeah, I'm all for it. Yeah, no, that would absolutely be great. You know what I think? Because they sniffed around a lot last year. There were two teams that were really high on Anderson. One was the Calgary Flames, and it came quite close there that the Habs almost got a really good deal from the Flames. And the other one is a team that they played tonight, is the New Jersey Devils. And I will say this, and you know me, Andrew, I don't love the idea of adding grit for the playoffs, but it is a different reality there. And last year, I really think the Devils could have used a guy like Anderson when they were getting pushed around. You know what I mean? To show a little bit of pushback. I know it's overrated, but there's value to your guy being like, for example, when Caulfield gets tossed, be like, no, hell no, man. Like, we're going to fight about it. And that's, Josh Anderson is a proud player. And proud players usually play really well in the playoffs. So I'm going to predict the New Jersey Devils.
All right, there we go. All right, should we close out the show?
Thank you, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be back on Thursday. Is it you or me on Thursday?
Me, I think.
Oh, there you go. I'm not gonna promo that show then. No, it's gonna be a fantastic show. Don't forget to join us. And as per usual, thank you to everyone in the chat. Bye, Claire. We will see you guys next time. Merci beaucoup, tout le monde. That's it for tonight.
Game!